Hey you guys, my name is Michael James, and welcome to episode 2 of the Bad Dating Podcast. I know bad dating, so let's talk about it. First, try to make some improvements over the first episode, so hopefully this audio quality will be substantially better just because I know what to do now. What I want to talk about for this episode is what should go first, a first date or first meeting. So, traditionally, we'll start with the pros of going with a first date. It's so traditional. That's what your parents did. That's what your grandparents did. That's what everyone knows to do. You ask someone out on a date, and that's well and great. Uh, Especially in today's modern society, originally there was a push for everyone to be independent. Now there's a bigger push for people who want traditional. A lot of women on their profile will say, "Hey, I want old fashioned values." We can talk about old fashioned values a little in a future episode because that's not always what that means. So, someone wants a traditional date. So, that's kind of what a lot of people will expect. So, if you have that lined up, you're already ahead of the game, especially just because a lot of people are lazy. When you get into online dating, you'll start to realize, oh my God, if you talk to people and find out what they've experienced, you'll find out that yes, there's a thing where a lot of guys or girls will say "Hey, just come over" as the first meeting, and just if that, especially if you're not trying to hook up, that doesn't really work well for you. So that's just something to be aware of. So again, that's one of the options. The other option is, we could do a first meeting. And the benefits of that are, I don't know you. You're a stranger. Let's meet first. But before we get into that, let me rewind. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I'm putting this up on podcast services. So if you're there, we're also on YouTube. Bad Dating Podcast is wherever it can be found. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. And we're also on Instagram. Yes, I did know that. It's Bad Dating Podcast across the board. So please like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to let me know what your preference is. If you're dating, if you prefer to meet first, or if you prefer a first date. Now let's jump back into it. So we know the two stances. For me, of course, when I started dating, I went immediately to first dates. That's what you know. That's what you see on TV. That's how it's been done. That's how it will be done. And that's what you get used to. So that worked well. I had good first dates that the best dates kind of don't stop and they end up going for 8 hours and you're just like, wow, I really like this person. Or you have a bad date, and I've been there too, where the bad date lasts about an hour at the restaurant, and that's depending on, service dependent, where you sit down, you meet, maybe you're talking, maybe you order an appetizer, first the entree comes out, you wait, maybe you pay for the bill, and then you go your separate ways. And like I said, I've been there where it took literally just about an hour. And I used to be Mr. 51st Dates years ago, where that's just what I was expecting. It's like, this sucks, but it is what it is. We can even get into paying in another episode because that's a whole big thing in itself. So there is that. That can be standard. If you ask somebody out, guys, if you ask a female out, 9 times out of 10, they probably expect you to pay. They may not want you to pay, which is completely understandable, completely fine. But if you're asking someone out, they may expect it. These days, women ask men out too. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that can be empowering because, again, it can be daunting to ask someone out traditionally and then just all right, wait, see. And then especially if you're just trying to figure out if there's interest, that's kind of why dating apps have become so popular, because it cuts out a lot of the nonsense that comes into dating. You meet someone at a bar. Okay, well, maybe they're just there and their fiance, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their partner, they're not there. And so they just wanted to go out, meet people, and they weren't thinking about that. So they're talking to you, which isn't a big deal in itself, but it's not going to go anywhere. The nice thing with the dating app, I matched with you. So I already know the basic level of interest. Also, reason why I don't like anyone who just posts, hey, I'm just looking for friends. You're on a dating app. You're not just looking for friends. My friends have a certain familiarity with me where, hey, they don't know I'm interested. They don't know you're interested. There's none of that there. If I match with you on a dating app, that means I think you're cute. I may have read your profile. I think there's some more interest that is not there with just a regular friend. And that's kind of important distinction. So that's why I never go for that. And also, I don't take a friend on a date, and I'm not going to pay for a friend. Like, I might, but that's on my choice, whatever. So traditional date, that can be the expectation. You will, especially depending on who you're dating, in some cultures, it's important that you do something traditional because that is 100% what they're expecting. A lot of cultures with cultural heritage where it's just like there, I can bet you 9 times out of 10, the matriarch or patriarch of the house said, hey, a guy needs to ask and you need to do this. And those are these things that you really have to realize are there, where traditional family values, if it kind of plays into that, you will 100% make a good impression or just be passable if you ask on a traditional date. And then you will 100% start just rubbing someone the wrong way if they were like, hey, I come from a traditional family where this is who I was always told. And then you find out, yeah, my dad said a guy needs to always ask, or a guy needs to even open the door, or guy always has to pay. You start finding out those sorts of things. Like, if you know who you're dating, if you know their cultural background, it's like a lock to just know that, like, hey, I'm dating a Catholic Mexican girl in San Diego. Not all of them want that, but a lot of them have had that told to them enough times where it's just kind of expected, especially if you're coming from that background. There's a transition point from like high school and college where it goes one way or another in terms of traditional dating to just a first meet. So like if you already know that might be the expectation, you're ahead of the game if that's how you play it. So it's knowing who you're dating and trying to just keep that aware, because trust me, you don't want to rub someone the wrong way before you even get to the first date. So for that, there's benefits to meeting first. Meeting first. If you're going from online dating to trying to meet someone, do you know how awkward it is if you already know within 5 minutes you don't like talking to someone or you don't like being with someone and you're at a restaurant? A lot of people are polite. I'm polite for the most part. Polite, never not nice. And what that means is, cool, I'm not really feeling this, but I'll stay. They'll do it out of obligation. If you do a first meeting, coffee, frozen yogurt or dessert, walking, doing something in a public place where it's just like, oh, cool, hey, this was nice meeting you. Oh, hey, it's been 30 minutes. I need to get going because I have X, Y, or Z to take care of. Or, wow, we really hit it off. Hey, do you want to go get a meal? You actually want to have that first date then? Those are the benefits. Those are some of the benefits. It's casual. There's not that much of a time commitment. You would have no problem paying for someone's cup of coffee to find out that they are 100% not your type, and then to walk away versus first date where you maybe take them to a restaurant that you're a fan of, maybe take it to a restaurant they're a fan of, and then you find out, oh my God, this is not what I want to, this is not where I want to be. This is not who I want to deal with. And then you're stuck. And then it's like, yeah, you're going to pay for this. So you ask them. So And then also, since a lot of people are very, I call it California casual, where you're want a relationship, but you don't want the commitment. And so a lot of people want to meet and they don't like the title of a relationship. I've definitely run into that where some people don't want the title of a relationship. They don't even want the title of a date. It's, hey, we matched on a dating app. Hey, you want to go out on a date? Because I'll ask that. The reason why I ask, do you want to go on a date, is because that sets a clear distinction between, hey, what are we going to do? I like you. I'm interested. Let's meet because there's some interest. It doesn't really change the dynamic too much between a hangout and a date, except for it just puts it out. Hey, I like you. You like me. Let's go do something. And where people don't like that being put on the spot, some people were like, it's not a date, but like we can go hang out, and just like, well, it can be pretty much the exact same thing, especially if they're going to expect you to pay, if they're going to expect you to acquiesce to the things that they want or the timetables that they want. Because trust me, if it was really just a friend, you probably might tell them no way quicker or be opposed to ideas easier than if it's like, oh, well, hey, this person is great and I want to spend time with them. So I will say yes to the thing that I would tell anybody else no, because that's the difference between friends or someone you're actually interested in. So I have gone to Starbucks for a first meet. I've gone for desserts galore. Those are two easy ones where, hey, you can just pick. I don't even drink coffee, and I'll say, let's go to Starbucks. Why? Because it's a simple public place where, okay, cool, she's crazy, he's crazy, the person you're dealing with, you don't want to spend time with them. There's other people around, you can leave. It's not as big of an investment in time, effort, energy. You didn't have to get a babysitter, do these things that just come along with a real date. So there's that. I had a time, so this is story time. I had a time where I got catfished. She had old photos. That's why I did an episode on dating pictures and what goes in the profiles first, because she hid 50 pounds and the 5 head. I mentioned this in the first episode, but I'm bringing it up because, yes, old photos can do that. So when you find that out in person, yeah, you probably don't want to spend an hour minimum with the person and then pay and then just be just like, you were already not into it. When you find out that who they portray themselves to be online is not who they are presently. So that's that can be a benefit of a shorter casual meeting. Cause like, yeah, guess what? I met that person for ice cream. I already knew instantly. All right, cool. But I was polite, still went out with the hangout. We walked a little bit. I was like, okay, well, I need to get going. And that ended the date, the hangout. But yeah, so that's one of the benefits. So my preference now, as I've matured, is to hang out, to meet first. The reason why you meet first is because it simulates what happens in traditional meeting. If I met you at the grocery store and we connected and I was like, hey, this was nice meeting you. Oh yeah, I need to get going. Can I get your number? And then you make a plan to make a date and then you get that out of the way. Online dating, you kind of fill in a lot of the gaps between the lack of information and the lack of the consistent interaction with whatever you think. So sometimes people seem funnier, sometimes people seem smarter, sometimes people just, because you're reading into what they're putting and what they're talking to you. So I don't like the half step when it comes to online dating where people create, okay, well first, so we've been talking. Well, first they'll drag it out and they're like, okay, well, we need to talk for 1 month. And then after that month, okay, well now let's do a phone call or FaceTime. First off, I'm not FaceTiming anyone because if that's such a different thing for a lot of people that you're not getting a normal interaction where, hey, I met you, you got to see me smile, I got to see you smile, I got to see that, like, hey, her eyes lit up when I said this, and you have that chemistry that is hard to replicate when you're on the phone or FaceTiming. Most people don't spend their time on the phone all day. I had a job where I did that and I hated being on the phone. So there's that. And then also you can multitask. So when you're not using the phone or video face, it's some people are bad with angles. You get to see what's everything's behind them, and you may not want to deal with that. I just like to talk, get a little bit of a connection, say let's meet, so I can see someone, see if I connect, see if I make them laugh, if they like how I feel around them, and then go from there. So that's not for everyone. And sometimes you may run into someone through online dating that you're like, wow, they knocked my socks off. Oh, let's just, sometimes I'll just say, let's do a date. Typically, I will not do that. But again, it kind of depends on how the interaction's going. And if it was like, wow, we're talking a lot, because that's the thing with online dating. Sometimes it just drags and drags, and cool, you text them, oh, they just got to work, hey, good morning, hey, what's up, how was your day? And then of course they got busy, so they didn't respond, which is 100% understandable. But then that just means, okay, well, they respond on their lunch. You're busy because your lunch and their lunch don't sync up, so you see it but you can't respond. After work, you're going to the gym, you're doing these things that make sure that you get very little time to actually talk and communicate. And then when you want to relax, that's the last thing you want to do, is worry about, oh, I need to call, I need to do some of these other things. And that's why just 5 minutes in person tells you more about someone than weeks of texting or time on the phone. And then also, you're grown. Ain't nobody got time to be on the phone for hours or whatever and stuff, just because unfortunately, if you were interested in someone else was interested in them too, and it can unfortunately be a little bit of a race. And some people can say like, no, I'm intentionally dating. It's just like, yeah, I 100% get that. But if you're a stranger, I'm not committing anything to a stranger. So yeah, it just can become weird. And that's why it's very important to me, is just to meet, see if there's a connection. Yeah. So that's my preference. I originally, like I said, did traditional dating. And then when you get to a point where it's just like, well, first, I'm not hungry, or I'm trying to eat better, or wow, this is expensive. I took one story time. I met someone who seemed to connect online. We were texting. She said that she's one of the few girls that you meet and she's like big into food, in terms of everyone says they're a foodie, but like true foodies are like someone who's like knows the difference between quality and quantity. And then also she can eat. So I was like, oh, cool. You like Brazilian steakhouses? Bet. There's my favorite. We went. I always love to go to that place, even though I rarely go. And then guess what? Oh man, it kind of just, it was an okay date, but yeah, I spent a pretty penny, and to have an okay day with someone who like I wasn't really meant for, connected with, like that kind of sucks as the guy. And some girls pay for themselves, or they pay for the date, and like big props to you if that's who you are. That's not a thing for most people. So like, I'm not even gonna pretend to try to convince or get people to think that way. Although again, trust me, if I've been asked out, I've been taken out, that can be nice, especially because woman showing the effort. Like some people will just sit on their hands and wait. And as a guy, you get kind of used to that, but sometimes you're like, I'll play a game when it comes to effort, which is like, and like this is fully admit, I tell this to people, and this isn't even a surprise. I will send a message with a reply. Cool, we're talking, but then I realize like, wow, we only talk because I send a message or hit them up or I'm making all the effort. So I'll stop and I'll wait. And then I'll see, okay, cool. I'll wait, give it 3 days. Oh, hey, what's going on? Or I'll give it a week. And then I'll stop. If they say nothing, because again, I get people are busy, people have a life. But then if I don't hear anything back, I'll give it like several weeks. I'm like, oh, hey, stranger, what's going on? I mean, technically, and then I won't, I'll let it go. And if I won't hear from them, I won't hear from them. I think probably I'm technically still dating like half of my county, just because people get lazy, people get busy, people find someone else. So like, you get it. That's one of the reasons why a casual interaction, a casual hangout, a casual date in quotation marks for those of you who aren't watching is to me a better option. It lets you have that opportunity to meet someone without either of you guys feeling committed to, oh my God, I have to get a babysitter. I have to make arrangements. Okay, where's this going to be several hours? I had a date with someone who like it was dinner, it was dessert, it was time together, probably like 4 or 5 hours. And then I was taking them home. And then I got the complaint of, well, they're from New York and they're used to dates being like an involved thing that like still keeps going. And I was just like, yeah, but I'm tired. And no, like, cool. They want to go drinking. So they end up going to a bar or and getting drunk. And just like, all right, cool. That's on you. Like you're grown. But that's one of the benefits of a casual situation. So we talked about my preference, some of the negatives of a date. We'll go in the negatives of each. And the negatives of a date, you get locked in to, and if you're trying to be polite and respectful, what will happen is you get locked in. I had gone out with someone who's kind of an alcoholic. They wouldn't say it, but if you're starting to sneak drinks after having issues, there may be something there. And they snuck a drink. They snuck a couple drinks. And then you kind of end up babysitting them. And especially if you're paying for the date, some people will say like, oh, come out. I'm already at the bar. I'm already you can take me to my favorite spot. And just like, cool. So you just really want to go to your favorite spot, or you really just wanted free food, free drinks. Not every girl, not even most girls think like this. There are some that think like that. Just like there are some guys who their default is, hey, I'll take this girl, or I'll take this person, because it's a guy or girl, to the same place I always go, and try to like recreate the same thing. So like people are having the same date at the same place at the same thing. Like, wow. Yeah, I definitely couldn't do that. Like you can have very similar dates, but like, yeah, some people just literally will be the same place 5 times in a row. Yeah, that's not what I'm about. So some people hate those options. And that's fine. Like you need to get comfortable in whatever your dating preference is to be able to defend it if someone wants to talk about it, or just like cut bait and like not deal with that person because, hey, I would like to meet someone to see if there's a connection, typically before going on a date, because that way you're not just on a date with a stranger. That can sound fun, especially if you're not paying. It's fun. And you can have people who will make very ridiculous demands on people when it comes to what the date is. And they start directing it because they are not planning on paying. So like, yeah, I want to go surfing. I want to go skydiving. I want to go on a hot air balloon. I want to go to my favorite restaurant. I want to go to this new restaurant. You get these things that cool. If it's just about the experience, it can be a fantastic experience. But for me, I like someone who is into me for me. And you don't typically find that by like I've had better dates that you spent no money and you just walked and talked and like laughed and had a great time, and versus dates where you spent a lot of money and you just realize, oh, the person's lame and you didn't get along with them. Oh, and they don't laugh. Oh my God, the people who have no sense of humor, or you find out that they're kind of dumb, or maybe their friend was behind all the responses on the keyboard or anything else. Like, there's so much that can happen, that does happen, that you just have to, like, for me, I learned to be more flexible, but then also realize that, like, hey, a casual meeting is fine. And especially these days, why would you not? People always say, I'm busy, I don't want to waste time. Girls will say, I don't want to waste time so much that it's funny, because, well, you can waste time in so many other ways versus a casual meeting. If I can make you laugh, make you smile, get to know you, decide if I want to hang out with you in 5 minutes, I'd rather do that, because then that's more of a reason to make a real commitment to a date and not spend time with anyone else. So yeah, that's my stance is, if you're going to do this right. Do a first meet at a public place, not at your normal place, because then cool, some people will take someone to their regular bar, their regular restaurant or whatever and stuff, and then like that's first off, that's weird, but then is that just your thing? I always take someone here. Well, if it never worked, why would you keep taking people to the same thing, trying to recreate the same one date that would, maybe it worked at one point? Yeah. And also just talk with the person. That's always a great opportunity, is to just talk to whoever you're trying to deal with and see like, hey, what do you think? And then, yeah, maybe you may think that they want the traditional date, but they're like, yeah, I was nervous. And yeah, we can do coffee in 20 minutes, halfway between us. And then that works out well. And then you're like, wow, this person, like, I connected and they were making the effort and they were down. Like, yeah, you want the dates where it turns out that they were down. Well, anyways, so that's just gonna be it for this episode. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. If I can just get you to follow me on the different socials, again, Bad Dating Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm trying to upload shorts and cut this up and do special things just for engagement. And if there's anything I can do to keep improving, because again, the audio is one thing, but I'm just going to keep working and make this as good as possible, please let me know in the comments, because I'm always down to try to improve. Till then, I just want to thank you for your time.